Alright, welcome back to the Warlock Journal. Here, Agamemnon Game Review. Today's broadcast is being recorded on the 21st of September 2018. It's Friday, 7:29 p.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time. The video itself was captured on the 5th of September 2018. This is going to be part 4. This session is about 48 minutes long, so we gather for as far as the 5th of September, we captured a lot of video that night. Again, it's the second time we're using the Windows game DVR, game bar DVR. So if you're hearing some sound issues, it's really the Windows capture thing creating all those noises and not your own system. We're going to try to minimize it as much as possible. I'd be keeping the sound a little down, but it seemed to have corrected itself over time. But as of the 21st of September, we switched to the Bandicam software package. We were using Fraps, but that has decided that it doesn't want to work anymore. And in the Bandicam literature, they claim to be as good as Fraps. So we're going to see. We're going to find out. One thing that the Bandicam software does allow for is desktop recording, which Fraps didn't allow for. Fraps was specific to the game you were running, but we're going to take advantage of that desktop capture technology and incorporate it into our future videos. So we're gonna go explore the Storm Sung area of Colteris. This is the second part of our pre-war planning. Our character has reached 116 as of the 5th of September. As of the 21st of September, we already reached 120 and are well into our gear grind. But and finished all our main quest lines for Zandalar. But the main points of this episode is we're getting acquainted with all these, I call them tools. They sort of assist you along the way as a player in finding things to do within the battle for Azeroth. And the tools that are designed to deal with the actual war campaign. I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but this is going to be part 4 for the 5th of September video. I think there's 7 parts altogether when this is going to be done. Those of you that have been following the series, we've been trying to shoot everything within a half hour, but that's because we were using Fraps. But these newer video capture software, they record in MP4 and not AVI. So they don't take up as much space initially when you're doing the video capturing. So been trying to take advantage of that technology by shooting longer clips. Although during this time when we're using the Microsoft 2-bar game DVR, I eventually worked it out where I was only shooting it a half hour per segment. This night was my second night using the video site. Wasn't quite sure how much I wanted to scale it or scale it back. because when you shoot longer than a half hour, what really affects the video is the processing time is longer. But when you upload it to YouTube, it's almost a 4-hour process to upload it. So that adds almost 8 hours per video. So it's sometimes more, I'm going to say, use the term economic. So you get better economics if you keep it around a half hour, and but then you're going to have more videos to upload. So I'm going to try to keep the segments between a half hour and an hour. Not too much longer. Chromosh. I don't know if you spell that Chromosh or Chromosh. Hi Warlord and Hi Overlord. Orcs have all these weird ranking systems. Forsaken ranking system is pretty simple. Sylvanas is the queen and everybody else is not. That's pretty much how it goes. Blightcaller is the pretty much, I guess, second in command. This goes back to the story of before the storm, where they had the Desolate Council. And the problem with the Desolate Council, they weren't having any issue till they started indirectly trying to tell Sylvanas what to do. Then she wasn't having any of that. As of the 21st of September, I finally got all my add-ons working correctly. Look over there at the mini-map, see they're all over the place there, and they weren't cooperating, and it took a long time to get Bartender to work correctly, and become familiar with it enough to use it correctly. But I since reorganized my UI, all my toolbars, which I found to be very useful, and I've been using the NUG running for my cast bars, but they're not. I think they're good from a visual point of view, but I don't really see them improving my quality of life as a player. So, and I saw a set of cast bars that I really liked. One of the streamers had. I've been able to find them. This was a long series of missions, but they were fairly simple. Straightforward, nothing exotic. Just go, kill a bunch of these people, get our stuff back, and secure the beachhead, and then you were pretty much done. It just took a long time to do it. He killed that poor wolf. But what has been happening in this little adventure is we've been collecting all our different lore characters for our war campaign. Jaina Proudmoore. Those of you that are not familiar with the lore, Hexar killed Jaina Proudmoore's father in the Warcraft 3. He's the one that laid the final blow. It also gives us insight into the politics of the orcs beyond Sourfang. It seems like the more orcs you talk with in the world, that they're kind of happy to be back in the fighting. Obviously, these guys made a mistake, so now they want the Azeroth champion to straighten out the beachhead for them. That, of course, is us. The mighty Warlock. Lurch Manos.
We defend against the darkness.
She seems happy. So basically, the dialogue is go kill these people, secure the beachhead.
Ride the winds.
The hunt begins. Let the hunt begin.
To go in and save all these peons so they can work. Put out some fires. Actually, we set some fires. That's what we did.
Our fleet will crush you.
You know, the grind to 120 was fairly straightforward and simple. But the story along the way is complex. And all the elements of the expansion are complex. Not the systems themselves are complex, just complex being there's all the parts integrating together is complex. Meaning more than one. So that takes some getting used to. And this is kind of in the story. Prior to when we did the pre-patch stuff, we did all the War of Thorns stuff, which is the last time we encountered the Alliance, both here in the Battle of Lordaeron. And since then, this is the first time we're really encountering the Alliance in over a month. Or 2 weeks, actually. As of now, it's the 21st of September, first day of fall. They've announced the release of patch 8.1 coming soon. I guess it's supposed to be put up on the PTR by the end of the week, public test server, PTS, and test realm. And then I imagine it'll be out by the time BlizzCon rolls around. It's probably be launched around that time. Definitely going to be investing in a virtual ticket. One thing I'm looking to do in Battle for Azeroth is more raids. I haven't really done them since Burning Crusades. And I haven't really had the gear to do raids. So one thing I'm quickly trying to do in Battle for Azeroth in the early parts of the expansion is to get great gear. And we'll primarily be doing raids in the pickup group style. Looking for a raid tool. That'll be our bread and butter. So unless someone recruits us into their guild, we'll be making our living in the pug world. I imagine 90% of the player base, that's where they make their living, in doing raids, where the 10% are the pro raiders. Those are the ones you see on streaming at night. They got all the great gear. They got all the potions, stacks of potions. But the regular people like us, we don't have that type of endless supply of potions. Tell you the truth, 90% of most of my playtime in World of Warcraft, I don't really use potions. And by the time this character gets around to training up his alchemy skill, the expansion will probably be over. You know, when you see the succubus, it doesn't look like it's an imposing pet, but look at the damage up there. Just Lash of Pain, melee. doing a lot of damage, and a lot of her damage is AoE damage too, so she's up there with Shadow Bolt. One thing I'm slowly learning in the game is the concept of cooldowns. I watch a lot of raid streamers, and they're always talking about cooldowns and stuff. And I don't know. I'm always popping cooldowns in terms of my pets as a demon warlock, and they're useful. The demonologist cooldowns aren't really buffs. And if I like, say my Felguard's on a cooldown and my Tyrant's on a cooldown and my Nether Portal's on a cooldown, I always just pop the regular Deathstalker and Biofiend. They're kind of a backup version of those. But I've pretty much been making my living off of the Hand of Gul'dan and Shadow Bolt. Although you're constantly spamming Hand of Gul'dan, it's way down there on number 7. Look at that. But it tends to run, if used properly, it runs neck and neck with the Shadow Bolt. Usually, they do about the same amount of damage together. So, one thing I like to think about in demonology is I like to think of the abilities as sort of guess if you ever work out, do like weightlifting, they have what are called simple compound movements, where you combine several exercises to achieve one thing, which works out a group of muscles. With the Demon Warlock, you kind of know one ability by itself is great, but you have to learn how to combine abilities and utilize them, which in turn makes the character great. And the first two abilities in that is Shadow Bolt and Hand of Gul'dan. You gotta use Shadow Bolt to put the charge up and then hit Hand of Gul'dan. And then using that 1-2 effect, the two attacks together does a lot of damage. And I think 90% of your play where you're walking around killing basically scrubs, most of your damage will come through Shadow Bolt and Hand of Gul'dan. Shadow Bolt is definitely the central power in Demon Warlock, which I kind of like. It should be, I think. It's sort of your signature thing. But Hand of Gul'dan is a very unique power in that it combines. Initially, when you cast it, it drops and does this huge area effect. But then it creates the 3 imps, which I consider a damage over time, because they're just constantly attacking that target, right? And then as you keep casting it with each shard, it keeps adding more and more pressure onto the target. And not only is it doing individual damage and AoE damage, but it's doing damage over time. So you get the best of all 3 worlds in that one attack. Now the sound there, that's the Windows DVR. My theory of why Windows DVR lags like that is that it's crappy to begin with, but they have it set up so its priority is normal and it needs to have a higher priority when recording, because then it's going to start lagging while it's recording, and this is the result of that. But although the sound is lagging, the video is not. Now, when I recorded this, I had it on the default settings of the DVR, so since this, I've increased the quality of the recording using the DVR, which I think is the 128 kilobyte per second setting. So I think it minimized the lagging of the sound, but as of the 2nd and 5th of September, I didn't really notice that. Because I hadn't yet heard the playbacks yet until after that. But it was sort of the lagging of the sound which inspired me to want to get the Bandicam software. And if there's a Microsoft guy watching this, your software sucks. Microsoft software always sucks. It's just the way it is.
This is fish food without us.
Now you notice all the videos that we made with Fraps, the sound never stuttered. There's not all this white noise sound. I call it gibberish going on. We're about halfway through the clip. No? Coming up on the 29-minute mark.
Culturis belongs to the sea.
Now, getting back to demonology, or the Warlock stuff, the demonologist has a lot of really nice utility spells, which are like a bunch of ads show up. You can just drop your bats on them, and if that's cooling down, you can pop out your Felguard, and a lot of ways that you can control the ads. See how I work through this little thing here? Could have turned ugly, but you stay with it. Trust in your art, and you can survive a lot of stuff. This week, I had to work a lot, so I'm trying to vote today being Friday and Saturday, most of Sunday, to get my videos all back in order. Get them loaded up to YouTube. The bit here is taking a while to
Traveler,
get through all the footage. But I've played a lot since the 5th, so. And the files are building up on my hard drive, which I need to process the videos so I can delete a lot of those files out. Here we go, we secured the fort. Of course, Windows is going to ruin it at the moment with crappy sound recording. Now the game is actually playing really good, just the Windows DVR sucks. Since we recorded all this footage through the next 2 weeks, from the 2nd of September to the 20th of September, we're just gonna have to bear through these difficulties. This is where you get him as a he joins your little squad for the war effort. And we return back to Zandal. Zar? Or Zoldazar? I call it Zandalar, but it's Zoldazar.
Let the hunt begin.
If you notice, as you're walking around the world now in Battle for Azeroth, especially on the Horde side, you see there's a barracks. There, all the main elements from Warcraft 3. Well, you had like the barracks, the little war temple place, and that you built everything from. Then you collected all the gold and the lumber and the war mill, the lumber mill. And, notice all the different places are taking on these assets. It's kind of cool. Go back and talk to Nathanos.
Out with
Nathanos has surely become a more important figure in the story. Our Heart of Azeroth has grown. I guess what, level 8? Is that what it said? Or 6? Can't see it in the premiere here. Yeah, it's 6. Some of these powers are pretty neat. Imagine at this stage they're just introducing you to the different types of talents or powers that as you grow in Azeroth, they'll become more prominent. But right now, I don't think they're designed to be these like powerhouse powers. That's my thinking. I do like some people on the internet are complaining they're not like powerhouses yet. What? Like 5 days in the Legion, I was the most powerful person in the world. Not anymore. Those days are gone. I have since gone to just a 2-panel screen there with details. I was trying out different information that it was giving, but after about 2-3 weeks of using it, I pretty much the damage data and then the spell breakdown is all that I really need. When I added bartender and it finally was working correctly, it cleaned up the desktop really well. So it's a little more open now, and I like that. It's closer to how my desktop looks in Star Wars: The Old Republic, which I kind of like. The setup of the UI, that is. I like it. It's nice and clean. I wish I could move the chat stuff around there. In a lot of games I play, I always move the chat to the top of the screen. I don't like it at the bottom of the screen. Here's where I was learning about how to use this table stuff here. I didn't really play through Legion yet. I have the expansion, but I haven't played through any of the content, and so I didn't really know what, like, and there they have like where you're building up your legions and stuff, and you're sending them out on this. So I wasn't quite sure coming into Battle of Azeroth if they would explain how this stuff works, and they did. So my anxiety relief, it was pretty simple. I just pretty much come here once a day and then send my people out to do stuff, and then at the end of the night I check on it. That way my war resources are always higher than what I need to send people out on their missions. Everything's economically sound. Here we go. Here's the little table there. It's fairly simple. You have your followers, your missions, scouting map, and members. So, as of the 5th of September, we had not gone to Nazmir yet, but the stuff in Nazmir and the stuff in Vol'dan went fairly quickly. The Vol'dan stuff was actually pretty interesting, but I would recommend you go in there after Nazmir, because then you'll be 120. You're a lot stronger at that point, and you can deal with a lot of the stuff going on there, especially with Alliance people over there running around the zone too. So you'll be a little stronger. When I was 116 here, I wasn't quite sure how to collect the war resources, because at this point in the game, they're just random drops that you get through quests. But as I adventured through Nazmir, I realized that there are treasure chests all throughout the area. You get them through missions, and as you progress more through these zones, they become more prevalent in your ability to acquire them. So I found that to be good. I don't know if that explains my point comes across, but as I got closer to 120, all that stuff became more apparent, and which is interesting because back in the classic days of World of Warcraft, they had those treasure chests everywhere, and they got rid of them when Cataclysm came out, right? And now they're slowly putting them back in. So that leads me to wonder, when the classic stuff comes back, if they're going to drop it into the live server, because that, to me, would explain why they're populating all these areas with those little treasure chests. See what I'm saying? Which would be kind of cool, because Azeroth is really a top end of game type thing, so it'd be cool if you could kind of collect it as you're, say you started at level 1, and then you'd have a big pool of it once you got to level 120 or 110 and 120. That once you finally got the Azeroth gear as a level 1 guy, you could at least grow.
Make them pay. Who's next?
Corona there is kind of funny. Sounds like she smoked like 10 packs of cigarettes a day. How are you? This is our first sort of introduction to war resources, how to spend them, how to acquire followers. Myself, I haven't gone hog wild with the followers. I'm planning to slowly acquire followers and train them up with my champions, and go that route rather than
Make them pay.
be broke all the time.
We will finish this.
So that's pretty much all the side missions that we had to do. And now think we're gonna return back to doing. I did swing by the island adventures because they were unlocked. I believe that's coming up in part 5. So we're getting our first look at these table missions. Well, that's gonna be it for part 4. We'll catch you later in part 5. Once we get our little troops sent out on their little mission, that is.